I know we've been real bearish on this channel, so today we're going to look at the other side, which is very important to do. You always got to think about how you could be completely wrong. That's the only way you end up successful in the markets, because otherwise you're going to get blindsided. So you're going to want to watch this video, especially if you're bearish like we are, and even if you're bullish, because you might get some data points you didn't have before. Also, I have an incredible story at the end of the video, so you're going to want to stay for that too. But before we get into it, the explosive stocks checklist. If this bull market is back and if we're headed higher from here, this is going to be a great opportunity to use what's in this checklist to find the stocks that we at MacroOps invest in, because they explode higher pretty quickly. So there's a link down below in the description and comments. Download that checklist today. So what we're doing in this video today is called red teaming, and red teaming is just taking the other side so you can disrupt the argument that you have already. You're trying to poke holes in your logic so that you know that you're on the right side in the market. Red teaming is a term from the military. When they form operations, the person who formed it gets another person, who wasn't a part of it, to come in and look at it. That way they have fresh eyes and they could ask questions like, hey, what if this happens? What are you going to do? Hey, did you forget this? What about that? And by the end, you should have a much better plan so that no one dies in the operation. Alex from MacroOps is the one that taught me about that. That's what they used to do when he was a sniper too, because he'd have his special operation. He's got to camp out in this abandoned building for a week and, scope out the target, and then they had to set up their perimeter and all sorts of stuff. It turns out being a Marine scout sniper is a lot tougher than it looks, because duck hunt really wasn't that tough of a game, which is why they're not related at all. Speaking of Alex, of course, we got his research at MacroOps to go over. So this article is called The Out Front Maneuver. So it starts out with a quote again from Hedgehogging, which we quote in so many articles and videos. You should definitely check that book out. This is from John Masters, an Australian oil man. He said, "You have to recognize that every out front maneuver is going to be lonely. But if you feel entirely comfortable, then you're not far enough ahead to do any good. That warm sense of everything going well is usually the body temperature at the center of the herd. Only if you're far enough ahead to be at risk do you have a chance for large rewards." So that's commentary on the market going against the grain, because we've explained the structure of markets before, where when everyone thinks one thing, usually the opposite happens in the market. So when we always talk about sentiment in our market reviews, if people are way too bullish, we know that's a sign that the market is going to head lower, because they're probably over leveraged and they have all their money in the game. Same if they're too bearish. If everyone's pulled out, then there's only one thing they can do: put their money back in, and it's more likely that the market will go higher. And you'll see once again in this video, we'll go into more of that sentiment analysis. So in the previous videos, we were talking about how the market was likely going to turn around from here. The bullish run was over. And by bullish run, I mean the bear market rally. But if we're red teaming it, then there's a number of things that we could look at that kind of invalidate that short-term bearish thesis. So first off, recession is a consensus idea in the news media. This orange line right here represents how many times recession, the word recession, has shown up in news stories. You can see that it's at highs not seen since 2009. And at those highs, as you can see, this is the S&P right here, the white line, that's where the market bottomed. So if we're using analogs, maybe that's the same thing that could be happening here. And this goes back to our sentiment analysis. Remember, if everyone thinks one thing, the market is probably going to do the other. So if news media is calling for something, that's a terrible sign. That definitely means the opposite is going to happen. Then this graph right here is the investors' intelligence, bulls and bears, and you can see that it has barely budged. It's still extremely bearish. Once again, signaling if everyone's bearish, we're about ready for a bull run. Then here we can see this green line, which is the 10-day moving average of the put to call ratio. People are still buying a lot of protection, still expecting the market to fall. Lots of puts being bought because this green line is pretty high. So markets don't typically sell off when everyone is hedging. Japanese consumer sentiment hit the lowest level on record ever. That happened this week. Lots of bearishness. So you really got to look at the market as a swinging pendulum. Price moves drive sentiment. So if prices start dropping, yeah, people get bearish. And then as they're getting bearish, they start switching their position, like they start selling everything off. And as they're selling, that once again drives the price further down. And that continues to happen in a feedback loop as price gets lower and lower. But then eventually everyone's standing on one side of the boat. Like I was explaining before, everyone's sold. So if all the money is on the sideline, then what's going to happen? Because everything that can be priced in has been. So at that point, it only takes a marginal piece of contrasting information to swing the pendulum in the other direction. So, as soon as a piece of slightly bullish news comes out, everyone's like, whoa, maybe it's not so bad. And then that's when you can get the buying in and the reversal. And you got to understand that this is a fractal process too. It happens on all time frames. Just like right now, it could be a bullish rally in the short term, but over the long term, we're still in a bear market. And really one of the toughest things to do is determine which time frame you're actually bullish or bearish on, or how the pendulum is swinging differently on each time frame. Especially for macro, that becomes very tough, at least in my opinion. So in early February, everyone was tripping over each other to see who could be the most bullish. But now here we are talking about recession just constantly. It's dominating the news, hence the pendulum swinging. But it is a very difficult environment to have like sure footing to know exactly what's going on. And Alex does have a more bearish outlook than most, because as we've seen in the last videos, he doesn't believe that the market is fully pricing in how bad this virus is going to be for the economy. But it does seem that sentiment and positioning need to be wrung out in order for the market to make another major advance lower. That means instead of everyone being so bearish right now, we need them to flip to bullishness. So stocks need to go up in the short term. And then as the market likes to do, it wants to screw the most amount of people possible. So it wants to pull in all the bulls and convert some bears on this massive rally that we're having, and then start collapsing to that second lower bottom. So we'll see what happens. We could definitely just chop sideways here for the remainder of the year. It wouldn't be surprising because anything at all could happen in this type of environment. But one thing to watch out for is that warm sense, that warm feeling that you feel okay in the herd, because that's usually a bad sign. Another thing that's interesting to look at though to gauge sentiment is TD Ameritrade's Investor Movement Index, or the IMX. And you can go right to their website and find this. And basically it's designed to indicate the sentiment of retail investors. You see it's a chart right here, this green line. So TD Ameritrade is obviously in a unique position to get this data because they have 11 million funded client accounts. So this data ends up showing you what investors are actually doing and how they're actually positioned in the market, not just what they're saying. Again, it's hard data. So if you look at it right here, you see that it's moved down around 19%. Well, you can't just see that, but that is the number. And that is the lowest point it's hit in 7 years. Now, if you look at it just from that perspective, then yeah, that is bearish. That means sentiment is bearish, which means the markets could trace higher from here. But what's interesting is that if you dig into the data, it turns out retailers were actually net buyers in the month of March. But this IMX takes into account volatility of the individual names that the people are buying. So they just ended up buying lower volatility stocks. So a lot of people were buying Disney, Boeing, American Airlines, Microsoft, Apple, even Carnival cruise ships. So they were buying more than selling. So it's giving us a bit of a mixed signal, but we also know that bottoms aren't usually formed when people are still buying. If retail hasn't completely abandoned the stock market, it's usually not the bottom. So it's really tough to tell. And another thing that we got to consider is that the whole bearish thesis is completely wrong. Because I mean, just look at what the Fed has been doing. They're gonna launch another 2.3 trillion into the economy. Powell is just roiding up and just printing paper like crazy. Look at this man, he means business. He's talking about a bunch of new loan programs for small and medium-sized businesses, as well as help to states and cities facing budget crunches, which of course they all are because everyone's at the unemployment office. It's not like all these state governments had money in the first place. And then they're even going to be buying some municipal debt and lower rated corporate debt. So you guys remember that fallen angels thesis we were talking about? Well, it looks like the Fed swooped in and took care of that. They're trying to help those borrowers that are slipping into these lower rated categories. So they're going to stem that chain reaction that we talked about in previous videos so that the banking system doesn't collapse. So the Fed is basically getting into speculative lending activities that it hasn't done in the past. Like Powell is really going all out. The Fed is going far beyond what it did during the financial crisis and Great Recession. They're buying a wider range of debt and doing so way more aggressively. And you can just see like high yield bonds jump like crazy on that announcement, 6.5%. So what if the Fed is completely successful? They plug up all the holes in the economy, we recover, we get a vaccine, businesses go back to business. And yeah, they have some trouble restarting, but the Fed is right there to help them, to fuel them money. So what if everything that the Fed did is effective and it works? Well, in that case, then no, we aren't gonna have a second bottom. We're gonna go to new highs. It's gonna be a massive, massive bull market. And that is very possible. See, we always talk about the long-term debt cycle, just like Big Daddy Dalio, he's always talking about it. And we're always waiting for that event that kicks it off, like when we hit the zero bound in interest rates and then everything falls apart. But what if this is not it? Like what if we're just kicking the can even further down the road? And this is the problem with macro. It's just very difficult to time because every crisis that comes along, every macro guy is like, yes, this is it. And then oftentimes it isn't it. And the bull market keeps going and the game keeps going and the house of cards is still up. So yeah, eventually the music stops playing when you have this much debt in the world. But today might not be that day. A global pandemic couldn't keep us down. Our buddy Jerome Powell learned from the past and saved the world. That's what we're looking at here. And I just love the incredible fan fiction that is coming out about him. Like this right here in Wall Street Bets from a young Paul Blart. And just from that name, like before reading this, I knew I was going to be a huge fan because I love Kevin James. And now I'm going to do a dramatic reading of this incredible fan fiction that is going to make my 10th grade English teacher proud. Feel free to snap after. That's what they do. This economic data looks grim, I think to myself. This is the right move. I look to the cracked screen of my iPhone 5S, a single 619 SPY 200 put. I take a deep breath and swipe up to submit the order. As Robin Hood's little animation shows the order completing, I suddenly black out. I come to in a gray room, fluorescent lights humming above. I'm upright in a metal chair, restrained with my arms and legs zip-tied. The only feature in the room is what I assume to be a Bloomberg terminal in front of me. I've never seen one in real life. There's so many screens, it looks so professional. A dizzying array of charts, numbers, and symbols light up its dozen monitors. In the center, the S&P 500, 2,700. It's out of the bear market. I hear several sets of heavy footsteps approaching behind me. I try to look, but can't move much. I sense several burly men standing over my shoulders. To my surprise, Jerome Powell steps in front of me. I try to speak up, but he cuts me off. What am I? Why did you short the domestic market? He asks. Nani? I respond, confused. Why did you short the domestic market? He demands, louder this time. The coronavirus, it's a global pandemic. It's gonna cause wham! One of the thugs behind me slams my head with something heavy. It's a bundle of $100 bills. They're still warm from the printing press and the fresh smell of ink fills my nose. It must be $1 million or more. It's priced in, he says coolly. So why did you short the domestic market? Dizzy from the blow, I notice the screen behind the chairman. The S&P has climbed back to 2850. Impossible, I think to myself. But because unemployment is approaching 20%, I manage to answer, wham! Another blow strikes me, this time a heavy bag filled with paper. It explodes on impact, raining bond certificates like confetti all over the small room. I catch a glimpse of some as they float to the ground. Investment-grade bonds from Ford, loans to cruise ship companies, loans to a taco truck. Repeat after me. Stocks only go up, Powell demands. I say nothing. On the terminal behind him, the S&P has climbed well over 3,000. An involuntary escapes my mouth as it falls agape. Powell frowns and continues. I'll ask you one more time. Why did you short the domestic market? I feel like I'm going to pass out again, but with all the strength I can muster, I shout. GDP declines are going to dwarf the Great Depression. The outbreak, it's far from over. Stimulating demand won't work if there's no supply. Social unrest is a real possibility. We're in uncharted The hardest slam yet hits the back of my skull. It's a massive stack of printer paper. It falls to the floor with a thud. Some sort of Excel spreadsheet is on it. It's the Fed's balance sheet. It must be tens of thousands of pages long. I can't even count how many digits are in the asset balance. Stocks only go up, Powell repeats. Behind him, the chart shows the S&P has continued its rise at a blistering pace. It leaves 3,300 in the dust, making new all-time highs. The first two blows to my head left me feeling woozy. The third one, though, brought sudden clarity. Tears well up in my eyes, but they are not tears of sadness as my puts become worthless. Oh no, they are tears of joy. Suddenly, I see it. Suddenly, the truth rings out as clearly as if a chorus of angels has descended from heaven to sing it into my ears. How could I have been so wrong all these years? In this moment, I am enlightened. The pieces fall into place. Stocks only go up. Incredible, incredible fan fiction. These are the times that legends are born. Sure, in the last crisis it was Michael Burry, but in this crisis, it's Jerome Powell. Look out for that movie, The Big Long. It'll have America's other hero, Tom Hanks, starring as Jerome Powell. I can't wait for that movie. It's gonna win so many awards. So before you go to sleep tonight, say your prayers to Jerome and the great work that he's doing. Sure, doctors, nurses, all the medical professionals on the front line, they're doing an okay job, but Jerome Powell is the real hero. So if you want to ride Jerry's wave with him, then make sure you check out this explosive stocks checklist today. Link down below in the description and comments. Jerry's having a great time going long. You should too. Maybe, if it fits your strategy. But this will teach you how to do it. So download it. Link down below in the description and comments. And make sure you subscribe for more videos. I'm going to be making them all the time. Do that, and I will see you in the next one. Stay fallible out there. Bye.